Hi, I'm Dr. Julie Nelson, and I'm a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine here at Chi Integrated Health in Vancouver, BC. So, we're going to talk today about autumn. We are on the cusp of a new season, fall. Grab your pumpkin chai soy latte or whatever you use to celebrate the fall harvest season. And what's interesting is in Chinese medicine, 18 days before the start of a new season is typically when people will get sick and start to come down with colds. So as we go from summer into fall, or what we call yin moving into yang, this is the time of year we really want to strengthen our immune systems. Our lungs are considered our weakest organ because they are the outermost organ and most susceptible to what Chinese medicine refers to as external pathogens, or in our case, viruses or bacteria invading, coming into our body. And what's interesting is in Chinese medicine, every organ has a season attached to it. Fall is related to the lungs because fall tends to be a dry, windy season, at least in most parts of North America. It's a time when you really want to nourish your lungs and you want to moisten them. Why? Because it's a time of year when we turn the heat back on in our houses. And what I see in clinic is people will typically come in with dry, hacking coughs. So because the lungs are the most exterior organ, we want to protect them, we want to nourish them. And in the fall, the air is drier. It's filled with decaying leaves, there's a lot of wind, and we've got the dry heat in our house. So what foods moisten the lungs? And typically, it's a symbolic type food. So foods that are white or have white centers literally mimic the lungs. So what do they look like? Pears, apples, cauliflower, radishes, turnip, parsnips, rice, and oats. You want to moisten and nourish the lungs, and you want to avoid foods like dairy as it tends to generate a lot of phlegm. Now, if you are healthy and you have no issues, fill your boots with dairy. But if you have compromised lungs and you find that you have a lot of phlegm and it's hard to expectorate, dairy can aggravate that. So, and the other food that that is very common in Chinese medicine culture is white lily bulb, and for this you would need to go to a Chinese market to find them, but that's another great way to strengthen your lungs. So what we want to think about is eating the foods that are in season to help support your lungs. And while we're on the topic of diet, it's also a good time to make the switch away from cold foods like smoothies and salads, the raw crunchy foods, and move towards more warm, nourishing foods like soups and stews, things that have been braised or oven roasted. And as the temperature drops, we want to keep our body warm with warm drinks. And so in Western culture, we tend to favor the ice cold beverages, cold water out of the fridge. In Chinese medicine, the norm is more warm drinks, teas, green teas, ginger teas, chamomile, jasmine. These are all warming and very nourishing. And it's also recommended we ditch the smoothies and go towards the cooked oats or eggs, things that will warm your belly. The other thing you want to do in the fall is you want to start to dress in layers. Start to dress warmly because it can be cold in the morning and then heat up in the afternoon. So what we want to do in the fall is we want to nourish our lungs. We want to build our immune system. And the other way we can strengthen our lungs is through exercise. Swimming, fast walking, running, tennis, biking, moving, and expanding. Moving all helps expand the lung capacity and supports your lungs. The other elements that you can practice are more mindful ways to exercise. Things like qigong, breathing out and holding our breath for 7 seconds, and then breathing back in again, and do this 7 times. So you basically exhale, wait for 7 seconds, and then inhale again to increase our lung capacity. This is actually a great exercise to do first thing in the morning because it also helps to center yourself. So qigong, tai chi, and then one of my favorite things, and I often recommend this a lot to patients, and I practice it myself, is yoga. Why do we like yoga? Because it regulates our breath. It helps us to become present and in the moment. It helps us to release stress, pent-up emotions. And the stretching also strengthens and tones our body. So the things that you want to do to help support your lungs is exercise, stretch, and move your body. Practice mindful meditation through breathing exercises, qigong, tai chi, and be present. So the other thing that you want to think about is how do we know if our lungs are healthy or if we need to boost our immune system and further help our lungs. So some of the things that you can think about is am I a healthy person, is if you frequently catch colds and flus, if you've got a lot of coughs and dry coughs and coughs that don't go away, if you suffer from seasonal allergies or have frequent sinus infections or asthma, these are all things that will show up and indicate that the lung is not as strong, or as you're not as strong or as healthy as you want to be. And so if you frequently catch colds, then you want to look at how you can start to tonify your lung. The other thing is, lung in Chinese medicine is related to the skin. And so lungs regulate the opening and closing of the pores on the skin. And so if you've got weak lungs, we'll tend to say that you tend to sweat a lot, the pores are open, and pathogens can enter the body. Skin issues tend to be acne, rashes, hives, eczema, and psoriasis. So these are things that you want to take a look at and go, okay, how can I start to strengthen my lungs to get fewer colds and to help bring my allergies under control? And the other thing that will really aggravate lung health is if you grew up in a family where your parents were smokers, or you were exposed to environmental toxins. And what I tend to see in clinic is when patients come in, and in Chinese medicine, we take the pulse. And the pulse positions, again, are all related to an organ. And so on the, just want to think about this, on the right hand, the first position is the lung position. And so when I take that pulse, what I'm feeling for is a strong, moderate pulse. And if the person has a very weak pulse, or it's hard to palpate that pulse, I will ask them questions about their family of origin. Were your parents smokers? Do you suffer from asthma? Are you a smoker? And things like recreational drugs will also impact our lungs. They will cause what we call lung deficiency. So when people are smoking, it puts a lot of smoke and heat into the lungs. It creates more dryness. Again, it's really important to keep the lungs moist. That's when they are at their optimal. So we want to protect our lungs. And so that's why a lot of research has not been done in this area yet, but it'll be interesting to see what happens now that we've legalized marijuana in BC, if that is going to show up and will have more adverse effects on lung health. Vaping is also super hard on the lungs and not recommended from this TCM practitioner. So what we need to do, we need to strengthen the lungs now in the fall, because what's going to happen is strengthening the lungs now will lessen the allergies in the spring. So again, there's things that you can do in Chinese medicine, and we're going to talk about that now. So how do we strengthen the lungs in Chinese medicine? Diet, exercise, avoiding external pathogens like cigarette smoke or pollution, those types of things. And the fires that we just came through in the last summer are irritating to the lungs as well. And so if you're in the Okanagan or in areas where there heavy smoke, you really want to start to protect your lungs and look at masks, air purifiers, and moisten your lungs. Now, in Chinese medicine, we not only practice acupuncture, needles, but we also have a large repertoire of Chinese herbs and formulas that we use to prescribe to our patients. And unlike Western medicine, when we are diagnosing an individual, it's a very specific assessment. So if people come to see me and they have weak lungs, I will often look at a formula for them. So I will look at things like Yu Ping Feng San, which is a formula which helps strengthen lungs. We also look at adding to formulas. So if the person has a lot of phlegm or a lot of coughing or a very dry cough, if it's a very dry cough, we'll look at adding formulas and herbs to nourish the lungs. If they have a lot of phlegm, we will look at putting in an herb that will drain the phlegm from the lung. And so I won't go into specific formulas because it is a case-by-case basis, and we will adjust or modify based on what the patient is presenting in clinic. And so that's really why I like Chinese medicine, is because it is a very holistic approach to medicine. And so as the seasons change, the demands on our organs are going to change as well. And so we want to be proactive and protect them. And then if you do find that you come down with a cold, heaven forbid, then you want to get in and be seen by your practitioner. And what I find Chinese medicine has worked really well is if people come in after a cold where they're feeling really wrung out, their immune system is down, they've got symptoms that they just can't kick, like that dry hacking cough or waking up in the night with night sweats or things like that, then we will look at giving a formula that will not only nourish the lungs, but will also nourish the yin, or the thick fluids of the body, and bring them back up to what we call balance or optimal health. So, just to recap, we are heading into the fall. It's time to take care of ourselves, build our immune system. And I'm also a big fan, because I work in an integrated clinic, of doing IVs. I really think IVs are great for people, especially now with COVID going on. You want to be in the best possible shape you can be in. And so even people that are vaccinated are still coming down with COVID, especially here in BC. When I look at the hospitalization rates, you know, anywhere from 18 to 22% of the people that are in the hospital have been double vaccinated. And so that tells me that A, the variant is very strong, and B, their immune system isn't as strong as it needs to be to help with this wave that we're currently experiencing here. So I would suggest you really protect your lungs, you protect your health, you boost your immune system, get lots of rest, drink lots of water, eat super healthy, and avoid any external pollutions in the way of vaping or smoking and things like that that you can, because you need your lungs. You need good lung health and good capacity. So if you have any further questions, I would love and welcome your feedback. Dr. Julie Nelson, I'm here at Chi Integrated Health, and I'm a doctor of Chinese medicine. And you can also go to my website, julienelsonTCM.com. Thanks and take care. Thanks for watching.